Have you ever heard the expression, saying goodbye is the hardest part? Well, it doesn't apply in this case. Saying goodbye is the easiest part, and also the happiest. Because today we say goodbye to John Riccitiello. He's not dead, but his reputation and career might be. And it should be. He should never work in the video game space again. He is a plague that infects it with the greediest, most outlandish ideas ever, and fundamentally ruins any type of goodwill the companies could ever muster. He has a worse reputation than E. coli. John Riccitiello sucks. Point blank. No reason to beat around the bush. I made a video talking about the Unity situation a couple weeks ago. I never gave the update in a separate video, but I'll just go ahead and give it now. I've talked about it on stream. Basically, the big drama that led to all this is Unity published some changes to how they're going to be doing business going forward. Is extremely fucking greedy, extremely ridiculous. There was a ton of backlash, and a lot of developers were making the switch to competing game engines and just abandoning Unity because they could no longer trust them, obviously. So, Unity did what the electric slide taught them to do. One hop this time and take it back now. So, they walked back most of their changes and put forth a more reasonable proposal, a more reasonable policy change where it would no longer be retroactively enforced, meaning any games that were made with the Unity engine prior to this new agreement are not subject to the new terms, the way it should be and should always be, as well as increasing the threshold that you need to reach to be subject to the changes and the fees and all that. Basically, they made a much more reasonable change. However, I don't think that exonerates them of the crime of cringe and greed. That was still an unforgivable sin that most people are still sore about because they did that out of nowhere and had no problems doing it either. No hesitation. They just dropped that shit and said, toodles. And that was that until the backlash was simply too much. And then they reluctantly had to change it. Now, John Riccitiello isn't solely responsible for that policy change, that greedy direction Unity tried to go. There were a lot of moving parts there. Once again, I mentioned Upper Echelon made a video covering it, and I still think his video on the situation is extremely informative, so if you want to know more about the inner workings that led to something like that, I highly recommend checking that out. But John Riccitiello is still the CEO, or was the CEO of Unity at the time, thus a leadership position for the company, the face of it. So, with the decision this detrimental, this apocalyptic, the doomsday that was brought forth from Unity, someone needed to shoulder most of the blame, and naturally that's going to fall on your CEO because that's kind of the face of your company. So John Riccitiello rightfully caught a ton of shit for that, and it seems today the decision to step down has been finalized, so he is no longer the CEO of Unity, which means he has done something unthinkable, something I wouldn't have ever imagined possible. He is a creature that was too greedy for EA, and now also too greedy for Unity. That's fucking mind-boggling. Almost impressive. Congratulations to John for making history here. For those that don't know, John, the money's gone Riccitiello, was previously with EA before Unity. And while there, he kicked around some pretty abominable ideas, such as charging per reload. His example was, we need to strike while the iron's hot, and when someone's in the middle of a game and they're shooting against an enemy, they run out of bullets and they need to reload, we charge them $1 for that reload, and they won't be price sensitive at that point because they're going to want to finish off the kill. I'm paraphrasing it, but I'm boiling down the point in a nutshell. Fucking charging per reload, he was listing as a gold standard example of great microtransactions. He also famously called developers fucking idiots if they didn't focus on microtransactions in their games. He's just an awful guy. He is the worst thing for gamers because he is someone that just wants to exploit the industry for selfish gain. But I'm not here to just keep talking about his past. Let's talk about John's future. Hopefully there is none in the video game space. I hope this is truly his last rodeo here with Unity. Why would you hire someone that keeps failing? His greed is insatiable, and it fucking sinks companies. Well, it doesn't sink them, like Unity and EA haven't gone anywhere, but it ruins reputations. Why would you want him in a powerful position at your company? It's incomprehensible, but I already know he keeps failing upwards. He shouldn't have been working in the video game space after his bout with EA. He should have never even made it to Unity, but he did. So, I have a sneaking suspicion John will continue to fail upwards, and he'll probably land a CEO position at fucking Ubisoft next. Like, he will likely be in another position in the video game space and finding more and more creative, degenerate ways to squeeze money out of the consumers, and that's just the cycle's going to continue. That's my prediction, but I hope I'm wrong. He's like a cockroach, and I don't want to see him in the industry anymore. He sucks. It's great to see that he's no longer with Unity. Maybe Unity can get their shit together, but as I said in the previous video, I don't think this means people should trust Unity going forward. I really don't. It's not like John was the only problem here that led to this decision. It had to go through many different people and many different layers of the big business onion before it went into effect. So, them getting rid of John doesn't absolve them of all the sin. It doesn't get rid of the root cause of the greed. It's just one of the symptoms that they treated here. So I think it's important people remember that. Unity isn't blameless here. They're not innocent. Unity and everyone that's still currently there in a position of power did play a role in that initial policy change that was extremely greedy and exploitative. So yeah, just keep that in mind. I don't think we can all just start trusting Unity again just so quickly. But I am happy to see that John is no longer at the helm of the company. They've already appointed an interim CEO. His name is James Whitehurst. I'm not super familiar with him or his work, but I guess we'll see how all of that goes. John will continue to advise during the transition period, which isn't like abnormal or anything, so I guess we'll just see how Unity looks a year from now. Maybe it goes in a much healthier direction now that John's gone. Maybe his influence and his tendrils really spread deep at the company and infected a lot. And now with him gone, everything will be smooth sailing. That'd be nice, but yeah, we'll see. Just wanted to give a little update to this whole story here. That's about it. So yeah.